I'm having Diego Leclerc and Dana DiGiulio be my readers. This is an incredibly disjunctive lecture on time management. Glad you appreciate the irony. Let's proceed.
This is a work in progress.
Except for I'm reading these.
You are,
Yay.
yes. Yeah.
Preface. This abhorrence I feel for repetition, therefore avoidance of sublimity, of even a moment's reprieve from anxious scratching at originality's back door. This repulsion is a trap, and I know. I read Hoffoster, and I understand the deconstructed myth of the avant-garde, that originality is also repetition, and I copy and steal, and don't worry, and that's not even what I'm talking about. Maura Smith put it very well in her discussion of Milton's Adam and Eve yesterday, making a distinction between the need for an interlocutor, Adams, and the ability to create a self-sustaining, non-narrative situation with oneself, within oneself, Eve's. And Charles Mahaffey followed eventually with a non-narrative, compulsively repetitive, liturgical dirge with pedagogical intent, delivered to the back end of the hall with his back end facing the audience, while sitting on a large TV with his face on it. Was Charles talking to us or someone else? Diego Leclerc delivered a play with recorded interlocutions of his own voice, masquerading as mother, father, Volpe, and God. Or maybe it wasn't God. The play was somewhat narrative, extremely repetitive, and incorporated a dialogical interjection that obviated the need for audience, but paradoxically heightened the longing for a passive audience, i.e. something closer to theater and further from the performative, hence the need for an actual repetition of the performance 2 days in a row. Well, really, because the performative is the utterance, gesture, action, that performs an act or creates a state of affairs in its utterance, Diego is actually precluding interlocution by his transformation into theater. And Charles turns up the amps, so we couldn't fuck his shit up if we tried. I'm not sure I'm trying to work out the man-woman thing exactly, not the way Maura was, but it's interesting, because this is not what I was planning on putting in my PowerPoint, but it seems so apropos, so compellingly now, that I can't stop. More importantly, I don't know why I make things, anything. As Maura said, I, like Eve, am quite capable of simply being alone, staring at my own reflection. And not because I don't know it's me, although I do get a little hazy on the edges, boundaries, limits of me. But the world does piss me off, and rage clarifies the edges and destroys the essence. For me, it's a series of misunderstandings I don't seem capable of clearing up, one after the next, a domino effect of mediocre first attempts and wrong-headed apprehensions, followed quickly by betterment and besterment, and right on their heels, a disillusionment and recuperation followed by more reading, and some increase in effort, which usually leads to my finally getting a weak grip on just what I am up against. Julius.
Marcus Brutus.
Don't need to read this.
Time management seminar, which attempts to play with the form of a PowerPoint.
First part, early morning. Then was not non-existent nor existent. There was no realm of air, no sky beyond it. What covered and where? And what gave shelter? Was water there, unfathomed depth of water? Death was not then, nor was there aught immortal. No sign was there, the days and nights divider. That one thing, breathless, breathed by its own nature, apart from it was nothing. Darkness there was, at first concealed in darkness, this all was undiscriminated chaos.
Some questions I ask myself. Are these tasks I work on during the day the ones with the highest priority? Do I find myself completing tasks at the last minute or asking for extensions? Do I set aside time for planning and scheduling? Do I know how much time I am spending on the various jobs I do? How often do I find myself dealing with interruptions? Do I use goal setting to describe what tasks and activities I should work on?
Please be patient with your life. It's only morning and you still get to live your day.
That somehow this would end, And she might be alone again with that loudness, that terrible noise, the drumming, banging, rattling sounds, all that furniture being dragged about mercilessly upstairs.
Disillusionment at 10 o'clock. The houses are haunted by white nightgowns. None are green, or purple with green rings, or green with yellow rings, or yellow with blue rings. None of them are strange, with socks of lace and beaded centuries. People are not going to dream of baboons and periwinkles. Only here and there an old sailor, drunk and asleep in his boots, catches tigers in red weather. Walt Stevens.
Diagram for thinking clearly. Time distribution. Title X. I think it's silly to sink in Philly. Starting from the left. Understand the purpose here. Zational system. Clip art chart. How now, brown cow? My name, your name, how inane, what a pain. But I think about the white nightgowns all the time, and I picture them in the room with yellow. This is a family tree of itty-bitty anomaly.
Remember, time is divided into seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, decades, generations, eras, centuries, epochs, and millennia.
1344. An individual is something, etymologically, that cannot be divided. An arresting or halting of differentiation. The principal feature of modern society is the increased process of system differentiation as a way of dealing with the complexity of its, the individual's, environment. This is accomplished through the creation of subsystems, in an effort to copy within a system the difference between it and the environment. The differentiation process is a means of increasing the complexity of a system, since each subsystem can make different connections with other subsystems.
By that I mean that I have always loved you, but having ceased to feel recharged or invigorated or zapped by you in any way, I have felt for a long time that you were just fumbling all the old files. If the heart is a filing cabinet, just flipping back and forth, and the only expectation was that I say uh-huh sometimes.
I realize that all my life is endings. Not endings. Those are just events, but wholes. For instance, when my mother died, the I had always known.
Procrastination. Common causes can be reduced to two main reasons. I find the task unpleasant. I find the task overwhelming. I am waiting for the right mood or the right time to tackle the important task at hand. I feel failure or success. I have underdeveloped decision-making skills. I have poor organizational skills. I am a perfectionist.